What is up with y'all and welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome. So as I said in my last Ghost of Yotei response video, I was going to be making a response video to Griffin Gaming, and that's where we are today. This video is, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I think it's genuinely better to just watch the points, but like, in the shortest way of describing it possible, this man blatantly lies about the game. He displays the, like, craziest display of lack of media literacy, and yeah, just straight up like every other grifter, right-wing, oh, woke this, woke that channel, yeah, they're all fucking brain dead, and they all make the same kind of slop content. And to the people that are gonna comment, oh, you're just a leftist liberal, blah, 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 you just enjoy Sony slop, this game slop, blah, 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 woke that, woke this, I get no hose and I don't shower. Yeah, all I'm gonna say is, you just don't know who I am if you say, like, liberal or left-wing or anything like that. And, yeah, and most of those comments are gonna be brain dead regardless, but, yeah, thank you for the engagement, but without further ado, let's get into responding to this video.
What's up, guys? I hope y'all are having a great day today, just full of so much positivity and happiness, dude, because today on the chopping block, we have the latest first-party AAA banger from PlayStation, and that, of course, is none other than Ghost of Yotei.
I'm sorry! I'm sorry! To your queen!
Yes, we're not even a minute into the video and we're already playing completely unrelated voice lines to try and make the game sound worse from a completely unrelated game. And mind you, that line from Freya in God of War Ragnarok that's like criticized by all the woke this, woke that people, they don't even understand why Freya said that, and they just were just like, oh my god, women empowerment, woke, blah, 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 blah. It's just so dumb.
Or maybe it's Ghost of Yotei. I don't know. I'm not that big of a weeb.
Pronouncing words correctly makes you a weeb. Griffin Gaming 2025.
But the point of the matter is Ghost of Yotei is a ghost of a better game that came before it previously, and on top of that, it is a carbon copy of a worse game that came out earlier this year in the form of Assassin's Creed Shadows. What we're dealing with here is yet another Sony story slop title with their trademark lay heckin' revenge bad dude storyline, because we definitely need another one of those, man. I mean, even IGN is getting tired of this shit at this point. When you've lost literally the game's journalist outlet that has glazed every single subsequent release for the past decade plus, you know something is running amok here, because this is the same recycled story that we've seen time and time again from AAA game developers, especially from PlayStation, and games like God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2, and of course, most famously, The Last of Us Part 2. And now Ghost of Yotei joins that list of games that have to reinforce the idea that revenge is actually bad, dude.
Okay, so first of all, God of War Ragnarok is not about revenge. The central theme of that game's story is about being better than your past self, and that your past self does not have to define who you are moving forward. You are not stuck in that box. The only bit of revenge, quote unquote, in that game is from like Thor, which is not even really the whole deal with Thor, because he's more of a parallel to Kratos in the sense that they both learn to grow from the horrible people that they were and the horrible things that they've done in the past. And Freya was also someone who wanted to revenge, but eventually came to realize that her and Kratos would be better off working together, and then eventually coming to realize that it wasn't really Kratos who got her son killed. But besides the point, these two examples are hardly even similar to how the theme of revenge is handled in Ghost of Yotei. And then we move on to Spider-Man 2, and this is just the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life, because revenge is like not even really brought up in that game. I made a whole 2-hour-long video talking about the character arcs and the themes and everything bit of writing in that game, but the best way I can describe Spider-Man 2 in like as little a sentence as possible, I guess, that game's central theme and central like arcs, it's more about feeling like you're not adequate enough. And then in The Last of Us 2, which is one of, if not the only game like Yotei where revenge is like really the main theme, it's still handled differently, which I will get into more talking about Abby and Ellie's character arcs in that game, but they still have very similar themes, but Abby and Ellie are still two different characters with arcs handled differently from Atsu, and they both have, you know, different character flaws and different things that they grow from. Not to mention, you know, different world building, different side characters, different types of antagonists, etc. So saying all these games are just, you know, given the same recycled story, it's the same thing, copy and paste, blah, 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 straight, it's just straight up brain dead. There's literally one other game, Last of Us 2, from a PlayStation studio in recent years where the primary theme of the game is revenge. And even like the past like 2 decades. Now, the thing that all these games do have in common is it's something to deal with the past. The past, the past, the past. Yes, a lot of stories do that, but guess what? Dealing with that kind of thing can be handled in so many different ways. Hell, most characters in most stories are motivated by something stemming from the past. That doesn't mean they are all recycled. And like, imagine using using IGN, one of the most notoriously brain-dead gaming outlets, as a way to support one of your points against the game. And I'm not saying IGN can't say good things or have good takes, but of course, IGN continues to be brain-dead here, because the guy that made that article and that review doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
I mean, even the final chapter of this game spells it out for the idiots in the back. I mean, if you want to talk about subtlety being dead, there's case in point.
There's nothing to be subtle about. If you've gotten to this point in the game, you know what it's about, and you can understand the flaws in Atsu's character. So criticizing the title of a chapter not being subtle just makes no sense in this context. That's like criticizing a TV show. Like, I don't know, let's say someone made a TV show about people kept as slaves or like being oppressed, and they titled one of the episodes, The Cost of Freedom. It's like, that's not an issue. There's nothing to even be subtle about. It's like if you made a Spider-Man story and he got the black suit and you titled one of the issues or like one of the episodes in a TV show, You've Changed. It's like, what the fuck is the problem?
But in other parallels to other Sony-related properties like The Last of Us Part 2, the game even ends with 2 women raising another man's child at the close of the game. I shit you not.
So you're unironically trying to say it's a problem that the game ends with a girl being raised by her aunt who also happens to be her only family left, and a person who helped save all of their lives and stop an oppressive warlord. The same warlord that killed Kiku's father. Yeah, okay, sure, that's an issue, I guess. Like, what?
And the gameplay is pretty much a copy pasta from the original game with some minor tweaks that we will talk about when we get to that. But overall, man, this feels like a literal Control-C, Control-V situation with Ghost of Tsushima. I can see why Sony was talking about why the budget for this particular game was a lot lower than their other titles, because this really does feel like an unwanted DLC to Ghost of Tsushima in all the worst ways possible. And it just is yet another game that follows the Ubisoft open world gameplay format that really just shouldn't have. In all honesty, I think this game would have been a lot better if it was linear. The open world adds almost nothing to it, and the fact that you can instantly travel around the world with instantaneous load times really reinforces the fact that you don't really miss out on having to ride through the environment, because they're empty, desolate wastelands half the time.
I'm gonna say this again, like I said in my last response video. It's literally a running meme with this game that people are so enveloped in the side content and the open world that they have barely even touched the main story path, because there is so much shit people want to do in the open world. And also, just like in my last response video where another moron made this point about the fast travel, you have to explore the world to even unlock these fast travel points, you actual baboon. And later in the video, mind you, he's going to praise the fact that there's so many different fast travel points, so it's really easy to get around the map. You want to know why this goes directly against his point saying the open world is just a desolate wasteland? Because all those fast travel points are pieces of content. Like, you're just so dumb. And saying a game is DLC just because it builds upon the gameplay systems of the first game is so goddamn brain dead. And we just need to retire this sentiment already. It's been going on since, like, I don't even know, like 2022, because almost every sequel in existence would be called DLC by this logic. And hell, if a game dev made a DLC with a 20+ hour story, improved exploration, improved gameplay, and 50+ hours worth of content, then so be it. That's a damn good DLC in my eyes. I'm satisfied with that.
Sure, you might encounter a pack of enemies every once in a while, or yet another collectathon activity to go and interact with in order to get a skill point or increase your health, but there's nothing that actually feels worth exploring other than just checking a box in order to get your next upgrade.
Really? There's not. Okay, so I guess the abundance of side stories, boss fights, enemy bases, combat encounters, puzzles, cosmetics, and armor sets, and character progression, none of those are a good reason to keep exploring. I guess by that logic, you have no reason to explore in Elden Ring, you know, the newer Zelda games, or any explorative open world games that have ever been released. Hell, even linear games or open zone type games like God of War. It's like, why explore, bro? All you're gonna find is more content. Like, do you not see how fucking dumb you sound?
On top of that, you have an obnoxious main character that was obviously chosen for her political alignments, which I'm not even gonna get to. 100 people have already covered that at this point. But just take a glimpse at the two voice actresses. There is a reason why in a game set in feudal Japan, they chose to not use the native Japanese speaker in order to be the face and voice of the character and then use English dub after the fact. There is a very deliberate reason why they chose this woman over the other one, because obviously one is far more attractive than the other, and the chuds don't deserve any attractive women in their Western video games. So I'm sure that's the reason why the character looks the way that she does.
You one of those challenged kids?
The doctor said I could be on the spectrum.
I don't know what that is, but get off it pronto.
Or, and hear me out, they chose a fluent and native English-speaking woman who also happens to be Asian, who does a really good job in her performance to voice the character for a game that has English as its primary language. And also, Atsu isn't even ugly. Like, she's not a fucking supermodel, but why would you even expect a character like Atsu to be that? Like, damn you, Sucker Punch, for not making the traumatized girl who was raised in war to look like prime Megan Fox. Now what am I gonna beat my dick to when I need to take a break to wipe my ass sweat off my chair? But anyways, let's skip ahead to the first chapter in his video, where he gets more into talking about the gameplay, because this first section of his video is just ramble.
But anyway, we'll go ahead and kick off this review by talking about the gameplay, because the gameplay is definitely going to be the shortest section in this video, because really it's pretty much a copy-paste of Ghost of Tsushima. You do have different weapons that replace the stances, and you can also pick up dropped enemy weapons and throw them. You have a couple additional tools at your disposal, but overall, the gameplay, which is 80% walking, talking, and climbing rocks, is damn near identical to Ghost of Tsushima. This really does feel like a copy-paste job. Now, granted, it's in the same franchise, so I'm not going to be too negative about that aspect, but if you were hoping for some massive gameplay elevation or evolution in one game to the next, you're not getting that here. This feels very, very recycled, and they did the bare minimum in order to differentiate it just in the slightest bit, so that Jin and Atsu don't feel like the exact same character to play as.
First of all, exploration in this game is a massive improvement over Ghost of Tsushima, which is a huge element of the gameplay. The way you go about finding things in this game is a lot more exploration-based than it ever was in Tsushima, and the side content itself is a lot less repetitive and way more organically found, instead of just so many things being marked on the map for you. Second of all, you have numerous new charms, armor sets, moves between each new weapon, new throwables and ranged weapons, new enemy variety and things to account for with those new enemies, and the other things he's already mentioned. How the fuck is that even remotely close to just copy-paste, recycled, same game bare minimum? Like, again, you would have to apply this logic to literally almost every sequel.
And like I mentioned, this is another Sony game, massive air quotes, where about 80% of your time is spent walking, talking, and climbing, like I mentioned, and about 20% of it's spent in combat when it comes to the overall story aspect of the game. Granted, if you do the side activities, I feel like the ratio is probably about the same, man. There is a lot of dialogue, lots of cutscenes, and lots of walking segments in this game, so grab a pillow and a blanket, because you might actually need it. It is a Sony game after all.
Saying 80% of the game is just walking, talking, and climbing, it's like, we just did not play the same game. Anyone that played this game and is being honest would tell you that's not even remotely close to the truth. But obviously, dealing with Griffin here, as we will continue to see as the video plays out, this is not a very honest person making a genuine review on the game.
And of course, the gameplay wouldn't be complete without everyone's favorite ghost ability, which is comically bad in this game, I must say.
I'm sorry! I'm sorry! To your wings!
Griffin, if you lived in this time period and had someone who's killed the most oppressive people in your area, is described as a literal ghost, and is slaughtering the people around you, as she may or may not have a wolf also fighting alongside her, then harsh wind starts blowing from behind her as if she controls that shit, while she's doing everything else, you would shit your fucking pants. Hell, you probably shiver in real life if you even just have to drive through the hood at 1 p.m. on a Monday. Like, shut your bitch ass up, bro. Like, you're only saying this shit is cringe because it's a woman.
But one of the biggest things you'll notice that sticks out in your head as you're playing through this game, especially if you're like me and you played Assassin's Creed Shadows earlier this year, is the traversal in every aspect of this game feels like Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, granted, Assassin's Creed Shadows probably literally looked at Ghost of Tsushima and copied a lot of shit that they did with that game in order to imitate it, because Ubisoft is anything but original, man. So to its credit, I'm not necessarily saying that it's Assassin's Creed that is the innovator here, but if you have played both games, I would feel like that you would be challenged if you turned the UIs off completely and just looked at these two games side by side. You would almost feel like you're playing the exact same game in either instance. I mean, the only difference is obviously Atsu has different weapons than what Naue had access to in Assassin's Creed Shadows, but the games feel pretty damn similar, man. It would be very, very hard to blindly distinguish between the two.
Now, I have not played Assassin's Creed Shadows, so I could care less about this comparison, but he also brings up nothing of substance in his criticism here. He just says the gameplay is similar. Now, again, I wouldn't know, but if it is like Ghost of Yotei, then hell, I might give it a try because the gameplay is amazing. But I have also watched a comparison video from a YouTuber named JV. It was on his channel called JV Plays, and despite me not playing Shadows, everything JV describes about how Shadows is, like compared to Yotei, whether it be gameplay-wise or content-wise, everything is done better in Ghost of Yotei. And everything described in that video, like the exploration and the side content being better in Yotei, the combat, the quality over quantity, it all sounds pretty accurate, even though I haven't played AC Shadows, because I have played the other RPG games like Valhalla and Origins. And even though I think Origins is a good game, that isn't as egregious as some of the other Assassin's Creed RPG games, it's still nowhere near as good as Ghost of Yotei for reasons that JV explains pretty similarly in his video about Shadows. Again, I don't think Origins is as egregious as the newer RPG games, but it does have those issues to varying degrees. But again, I haven't played it myself, I'm just simply basing it off of how the other, RPG AC games are. You guys who have played both can let me know in the comments what you think about it, assuming you're being honest and genuine in the comparison like JV was. And I should have that video like either on the screen or linked in the description.
And unfortunately, like Assassin's Creed Shadows, Ghost of Yotei is paired with an equally empty, bland, and lifeless open world with the typical checklist activities in the form of mini-games and events in order to gain upgrades and skill points. You literally have a mini-game that involves you stroking a guitar. No, I'm not fucking joking. You're flicking coins, chasing foxes, chasing after birds, painting with the touchpad, and stopping by the hot spring for some good old-fashioned gaming fun. Say what you will about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth having too many mini-games, at least their mini-games were fun. Now, you also have your typical Ubisoft outpost capture events from Far Cry, which you can capture from the Saito forces and turn it over to the Matsumai clan, which is the friendly faction in the game. But generally speaking, man, if you have played Assassin's Creed Shadows, even the side activities are almost identical in this game, which, again, I know Assassin's Creed Shadows was copying the homework of Ghost of Tsushima to a very high degree, but if you have played both of these games in the same year, you are going to get worn out and bored of Ghost of Yotei pretty fucking quickly, unless you were the world's biggest Assassin's Creed Shadows fan, which I don't really think there was too many of those.
I like how he just conveniently doesn't mention the numerous side stories, boss fights and bounties, puzzles, and combat encounters within the game content. Also, what is the problem with things like enemy bases and outposts? Is it literally just because Ubisoft has done that? Like, who gives a fuck if other games have stuff like this? If you have fun gameplay, then they are fun to do, so what is the problem? Like, again, I guess you would have to put Elden Ring and numerous other great open world games in that same boat as Yotei and call those generic as well, because they have things like this. And like, even the mini games and the smaller parts of side content. One, the hot springs, they give you character progression with Atsu, both gameplay and story-wise. Like, how is that bad side content? Would you rather be like AC, where you just have a bunch of loot everywhere, and to get more health or defense points, you put on this hoodie or that fucking chest piece or something like that? And like the paintings, the little mini games, and some of the fox dens that don't feature like, combat encounters. It's like, sure, gameplay wise, not all of those are the most engaging, but you get rewarded from them. And again, it's not like that's the only bit of side content in the game. And even the shrines and like the altars of reflection, a lot of the time you have to explore and figure out your way around the environment to even acquire those things. And mind you, most of them are also in really visually stunning places, which is just a bonus. But like, how is that not engaging or rewarding gameplay? Like, one of my biggest problems with this like copy and paste YouTube review slop content, especially when it it comes to slop content like Synthetic Man, Griffin Gaming, Critical Drinker, Endymion, etc. You know the kind of people I'm talking about. It's when people like this say these things about like media, whether it be games, movies, blah, 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 etc. They'll be like, this thing is an issue. And then they don't actually explain why something is an actual issue. Like, for example, someone would be like, guys, look how bad this story is. This character did this. Isn't that so stupid? It's like, okay, why is that stupid? You'll rarely get an answer from one of these channels. And another thing I hate, whether it be like games or movies, they'll point out like what one of those things has like a small amount of something that's either bad or not that good, and think that they have like some grand point about the whole thing being bad or the whole part of that thing being bad. Like, these reviews are just so dog shit, and it's hilarious to me that people actually watch them and be like, hey, you know, he's actually making a good point. Anyways, the rest of this section of his video is literally just him praising the game, like how it looks visually, and him saying that it's very well polished, not like many bugs on the technical front, nothing game breaking, etc., things of that nature. I have nothing to respond to there, but that is also the section of the video where he praised the fast travel that I mentioned earlier, where it like contradicted one of his points. So if you care to watch that, you can just go watch his video. It's on his channel. But let's move on to the next section of the video where he talks about the story, because this is easily the worst part of this whole video.
When it comes to the story of Assassin's Creed, wait, we're talking about Ghost of Yotei here. Well, when it comes to the story of this particular game, there is a lot of controversy going around the right-wing sphere of the gaming community regarding the voice actress and face of the main character, and a lot of the very controversial shit she has posted on social media surrounding the LGBT community, and on top of that, you know, her allegiance to a domestic terrorist organization known as Antifa. But all of that aside, I think we have a perfect instance of Ghost of Yotei being yet another game that is more boring than it is woke. The wokeness of this game is not even scratching the surface when it comes to the cardinal sin of this title, and that is the fact that it is just genuinely yet another copy-paste Sony revenge bad storyline that genuinely will put you to sleep before it'll make you chuckle at just how comically woke it is.
Ah, yes, the typical copy and paste revenge bad story that's literally been done by one other Sony game in the past like 2 decades. And Ghost of Yotei still does something different with this theme. Like, by this logic, Ghost of Tsushima is just a typical story, because stories where their characters have morality coming into question for the greater good have been done before. I guess Ghost of Tsushima is just copying Marvel and DC's homework, because those brands have characters such as Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, etc. that have all tackled similar themes. So I guess Ghost of Tsushima is just, you know, copy and paste slop, because, you know, Batman Under the Red Hood is also a story where Batman's morality is challenged by someone trying to convey that these villains don't care about your code, and you only cause more harm than good by keeping that code. You see how comparing things like this and saying they're copy and paste just because they have a similar thing and or, you know, concept is just fucking brain dead? And like, Ellie's arc in The Last of Us 2 is her understanding by the end of the story, and you can criticize her arc all you want, I'm just explaining what it is, but it's her understanding by the end of that story that Joel wouldn't want this for her. It's her understanding that Joel didn't keep her alive just to throw her life away like this. But the consequences that Ellie faces for this is her ending up alone, which was like her character flaw, her fear in The Last of Us 1 that she did not want to happen. It's a story that does not have a happy ending. And Abby, a person who changes because of a child, similar to Atsu, is still different. Abby changes and starts taking care of Lev because after killing Joel, her life was still the same. She got nothing out of it. She already got her revenge. And none of that still bettered her as a person or gave her closure to, like, you know, keep moving forward with her life. But taking care of Lev, a person who lost everything just like her, in terms of, like, you know, family, and gave her a new purpose in life and allowed her to move on from that revenge. Atsu's arc starts with her thinking she has nothing and that she's also, and like, you know, she's also a loner, but throughout the course of the story, she winds up befriending many people, like the Weapon Masters, Oyuki, and a few other side characters, and also finding out that her brother is still alive and that, you know, she also has a niece later in the story. And after her fight for revenge causes bigger problems for the world and for her own family on numerous occasions, Atsu, by the end of the story, has to make a decision to let revenge go in order to fight for what she has in the present, as opposed to what she lost in the past. These are very blatantly different character arcs, and again, like I said in the beginning of the video, this is without even mentioning the differences in the world building, the side characters, and the antagonists between the two games. Just because something tackles something similar or does something similar does not mean it's a copy and paste, and it doesn't mean it's generic, the buzzword that so many people like to use. And I will be fair, you know, you can say generic and it'll fit sometimes, but that's definitely not the case here.
Now, don't get me wrong, there's definitely a lot of woke themes throughout this game. Atsu is definitely a girl boss from start to finish.
Hey, something more lively. Better yet, put down that chummy and dance.
You want to dance?
How do we show you enough fun?
Go on, give us a tune. Just fist. I don't need another bounty on my head.
Get up!
Typical samurai. What's wrong? Can't keep up?
You.
Me.
She has literally fought in a war for 16 years straight prior to this game taking place. Whenever she interacts with men, she always has this very, like, distinct disdain in her voice. Like, you can tell that they're trying to position her character as a man-hater, and whenever she's interacting with women, she's bubbly, warm, and personable. On top of that, there is an entire subplot line in this game where you have to go and acquire the pistol, which basically boils down to a gun control good type storyline about why you shouldn't sell guns to normal people because they'll go and do bad things with it, and instead we should trust the good old government to do it for us. I mean, there's many instances, and I could spend a lot of time listing them off, so...
We are just straight up lying about the game. But before I get into that, first of all, you're saying Atsu is a girl boss because she's sticking up for another woman being harassed and then proceeds to beat up, you know, all the samurai involved. Okay, so is she also a girl boss when she does the same thing to other women in Saito's faction who are oppressing innocent people? Is every female character in any piece of media a girl boss when they are highly skilled and beat up people? Or is it just when they do it to men? I guess Ellie was a girl boss in The Last of Us 1 when she killed David and his men for trying to sexually assault her as a child. Woke game moment. Like, if Atsu is a girl boss, then you would have to apply this to literally every female character in any piece of media. Oh wait, they already do that. Ah shit, my bad. Let's also just forget the snake almost kills Atsu and the Oni and Lord Saito completely embarrass her the first time she encounters them. And you lie saying that Atsu has an explicit disdain for men in the game. Like, yeah, let's just forget the numerous side missions where she not only respects men, but may also resonate with them. Examples. Basically every single one of the weapon masters where Atsu learns a new skill or gets a new weapon. Takizo the Unrivaled, her brother, the final brother from the TMNT Easter egg side mission. Jin Sakai, the Spider Lily General. The Undying Samurai, the man with the pet bear. Or what about the Ainu side mission where she's able to reason with a woman to stop doing more than she can handle and also respects that woman's son in that side mission? Or what about the bounty mission where she has an explicit disdain for a woman luring in innocence for the shinobi? Atsu doesn't hate men, she hates scumbag men and women alike. And why are we acting like the topic of women being less respected is something that doesn't belong in this game? Which, mind you, Ghost of Tsushima has the same thing, but like, look at the fucking time period it's in. Like, by this logic, Red Dead 2 is woke because you can find and kill the KKK and the fact that racism is a theme in that world. Like, you just sound so fucking stupid and you're just blatantly lying about the game. And the other thing he says about the Pistol Master side mission, nothing in that side mission talks about the government. It's literally about how the Gunmaster realizes he shouldn't be selling weapons to the people literally terrorizing the island they're living on. And the side mission isn't even preachy, it's just spitting facts like, yeah, no shit, it's a good idea to not be selling guns to people who are likely to do terrible things with said weapon. The guy was only doing it because he needed money, but he realized the mistakes in what he did. Like, Griffin, you're just such a fucking moron. Like, genuinely, you are cherry pick. You're not even cherry picking, bro. You're just reaching for the stars to try and find something to criticize about this game.
If you're looking for a game that does not have any woke shit in it, that is definitely not what you're gonna find here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're someone that doesn't shower and grasp at straws to try and find something that's woke, quote unquote, and if you also don't pay attention to, you know, basic storytelling, yeah, I agree this game is probably not for you.
Now, do I think the woke shit is even center stage in the actual game itself, and especially the story? Not really, man. It's mainly just undertones. It is nothing as overtly woke as something like Silent Hill F that came out recently, or a game like Spider-Mid 2 that Sony released previously as well.
Holy fucking shit. So you're just subtly admitting that you're just straight up grasping at straws without blatantly saying it. And you also did the same thing for Spider-Man 2 and probably did for Silent Hill F, which I still haven't played yet, but I can't trust a word Griffin says because he's a fucking moron. And he's also proven on multiple occasions, not just in this video, but in previous videos, that he is not honest and also just has an explicit lack of media literacy. The next part of his video is him just saying a slight, like, it's just a small part saying the story is similar to AC Shadows. Now, again, I haven't played that game, so I don't care, but I will respond to his criticisms, obviously, of Yotei's story.
But you play as a girl named Atsu, whose family gets killed by a feudal Japanese lord by the name of Saito and his Yotei 6. At the beginning of the game, there's not really much explanation for why he went and decided to kill your family, but essentially, they're all killed off. You are pinned to a tree with your father father's sword, he lights the tree on fire and leaves you for dead. However, you survive this incident, and now you are on your quest for revenge. Now, it's later revealed that she and her brother actually led Lord Saito back to their house while they were out gathering mushrooms, so she blames herself for her family's death, even though he obviously already knew where they live because they were like probably 50 feet away from the house the entire time during that sequence. But yeah, she feels a deep sense of guilt for her family dying at the hands of Lord Saito. And in the beginning of the game, it's revealed that Atsu's father is this famous blacksmith, and at one point he worked with Lord Saito. Now, at one point he decided to abandon Lord Saito and go live his own life and start a family, and apparently because of this, Lord Saito and his men like starved or something. Like, I don't really know how a blacksmith leaving your company would result in everyone going through mass starvation, but that is the plot that we are left to deal with.
Saito is mad at Kengo because he left Saito's clan while they were dealing with a lack of people and resources, which led to starvation that his child died from. What about that does not make sense?
Because of Atsu's father leaving, Lord Saito's daughter starved to death, which this is never really explained because Lord Saito and his 2 adult sons survived, but his young child daughter starved to death. So 2 grown men and their father survived, but the daughter starved, even though she would require less food and would have to do less physical activity. Again, the story is completely nonsensical in a lot of cases.
Holy shit, you're a fucking moron. Children literally do need to eat more because they are growing. You could have figured this out by doing one Google search. And also, before someone decides to look at the screen and be like, that's an AI overview, you use an AI to make your point. For the retards that don't know how Google works, the AI overview gets things from sources, which are linked in that overview, to back up where it's getting its information from. Sorry if I sound a little bit pissed about that specific part, because I've been through that before and people are stupid. And just to make you sound even more dumb, like let's say hypothetically Griffin was right and that adults need more to survive, or that they are more likely to die of starvation as opposed to children. That still doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense that the child died. If there's limited rations for a group of people and they are all starving, some people have the mental fortitude to survive longer than other people in such scenarios. This isn't even just a thing from starvation. It can stretch to something like physical abuse or physical injuries. For example, when I was like a freshman in high school, I broke my ankle while I was in the middle of a basketball game. I then went and played the other 2 minutes left of that basketball game while I had a broken ankle. And I know someone's gonna say, oh, well, that's just adrenaline. Okay, for another example, many people struggle very much to walk on sprained like limbs, but there are many athletes that push through that and still continue to play games even before the adrenaline kicks in, because mentally they are fighting through the pain. This is a basic concept that literally has been around for centuries.
But apparently this blacksmith was integral in order for Lord Saito to provide food to his troops and family as an extension, and therefore that is why he is set on his path of revenge to get revenge on Atsu and her family.
So what you're admitting to is that you don't understand why the person that is integral in that group to weapon making and maintaining for things like, hunting, or, defending themselves in feudal Japan, you don't understand why it would be a problem like that for someone in Saito's clan to leave, when they are already shorthanded on resources and people. Holy shit. You are one of the dumbest people on the platform. And it's so funny to me that other lobotomites swarm to watch people like this and support them while also being just as fucking dumb.
But he and his Yotei 6 pull up at the house, they kill your family, and it follows the typical revenge bad story slop storyline of Atsu trying to track down the Yotei 6, kill them, and cross their names off her list with their blood. Now, throughout this journey, in order to kill the Yotei 6, she does meet one of the companion characters in the game named Oyuki, who is the former Kitsune, which was a member of the Yotei 6. Now, she has recently defected from that group, or more so kicked out, because she didn't want to go along with Saito's evil ways, man, because only men are allowed to be evil in this particular game.
What the fuck are you even on about? Like, there are literally women in Saito's faction and in bounty missions that are horrible people, and the game makes it explicitly clear that what Oyuki did and was a part of was also horrible on her part. Like, you're literally just lying and trying so hard to make it seem like this game is trying to spread some preachy message. Like, just give it up, bro. Holy shit.
Now, it's later revealed to Atsu that she is the Kitsune, and they have this whole coming to Jesus moment, and Atsu forgives Oyuki because that night, Oyuki let her escape temporarily before being caught again and eventually pinned to the tree and having it lit on fire, which this starts the revenge bad storyline of the game because Oyuki is basically trying to dissuade Atsu from pursuing this blind path of revenge, letting her know there's more to life than just hatred, and there's this really weird sexual tension that starts to build between the two.
That's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Which later comes to a natural conclusion that I think everybody saw coming from a mile away if you are familiar with this particular type of Western writing and storytelling.
Take a shot every time Griffin straight up lies or misrepresents this game and reaches for the stars to call it woke. You will be in the hospital before you even finish the video. Griffin, I want you to post a video just for this sole purpose. Post a video showing where the sexual tension between Atsu and Oyuki is, just to see how fucking dumb you look on an even bigger display.
She also encounters her long-lost brother, who she finds out survived his gunshot wound to the gut in feudal Japan, keep in mind.
It's not impossible to survive a gunshot wound during this time period. And he also doesn't get shot in explicitly the gut. He gets shot somewhere in his upper body. We don't even know what organs it explicitly hit. You can say maybe it's lucky that Jubei survived, but it's not impossible, therefore making it not logically inconsistent. And this is also an inciting incident in the story, so arguing it's lucky doesn't even really matter. It's not an issue for a story to use one or even like a couple lucky things or events to motivate a character or start a plot line. I would use the same logic for like an apocalypse story, for example, where most of humanity have turned into zombies. It's really lucky that the characters in those stories have not been infected yet.
And has now been elevated to a feudal lord in the Matsumai family, which is the main feudal lord faction that is at war with Saito. So they become natural allies of yours throughout the game, and you start to rekindle the relationship with your brother, which they reiterate the fact that Atsu was the more capable sibling. She was better at everything than Hyubei, which is his name, and essentially she is the man of the family, so to speak.
Ah, yes, because of course it's a problem that Jubei is less skilled in combat than his sister, who not only had better training, which the game explicitly points out that the Matsumai in general do not have the best training, but she also was trained by mostly men her whole life. Most of the people that teach you things in this game are men. Do you hold the same standard on Jin because he's more skilled than everyone in that game as well, including his uncle who's been a samurai for much longer? Do you have an issue with that? Oh no, it's because Jin has a dick and balls. Was it woke and was it an issue in Ghost of Tsushima as well, when Jin learns things from multiple different women?
But together with Oyuki and Hyubei, you dismantle Saito's Yotei 6 and liberate the land, only except the Matsumai are crushed and defeated, and Saito still wins the war, despite you killing and befriending the Yotei 6 along the way and dismantling his entire network of operatives and military. But apparently he still wins in a crushing defeat where the Matsumai clan are completely crippled and essentially destroyed. Now, the game never really explains how Saito's army is eventually defeated, because later on in the game it is revealed that the Matsumai do regain control of the region and are rebuilding their castle, and just some random off-the-cuff dialogue. Like, we never actually get to see these events happen on screen, so kind of odd, man. It's kind of not one of those things that I feel like that should be reserved to a one-off dialogue line, and should be instead shown on screen of how the Saito were driven out of the region by the Matsumai and how they recovered from basically being completely eradicated. But yeah, just the minor story details are missing here, but overall, yeah, we didn't really get any sort of closure on that whatsoever. I mean, I guess since Saito eventually does die, the army just immediately disbanded and said, we give up, which seems very unlikely, but I don't know, man. Maybe that's how it happened back in feudal Japan, no matter how nonsensical it is.
This man gets dumber by every passing minute in this video. How did you just say it doesn't make sense for Saito's forces to win after Atsu and the others crippled Saito's forces, which, mind you, they don't even fully do till the end of the game, and it's not even clear how canonically they go about it. Besides the point, you say that and then say it doesn't make sense for them to lose and that we're missing a big moment where Saito's army is defeated. Like, you fucking dumbass. It's pretty easy to understand how the Matsumai eventually gained back control of the island. After Saito and all of his force's leaders have been killed, and most of their control points were taken back throughout the course of the game as well. And mind you, Saito used all of his forces that he had in the final push against the Matsumai, and it was also explained at a point in the story towards the third half of the game, when Saito first invades Oshima Coast, that the samurai have more backup coming on the way, that just weren't on the island currently. Like, after Saito is killed, they have nothing to show. It's pretty easy to infer how Saito's clan falls. Mind you, Ghost of Tsushima does the same thing. Like, after you kill the Khan, the game is basically over, and it doesn't show you how the rest of the samurai deal with the rest of the remaining Mongols, because it doesn't need to. It's a very easy thing for the audience to piece together.
But during the siege of the castle, which I mentioned, the Matsumai castle gets destroyed, Atsu is using Saito's son, the Spider, who is one of the members of the Yotei 6, in order to bait the other son, the Dragon, who is also a member of the Yotei 6, into rescuing him by staging a fake execution. Now, Saito, of course, sees right through this, and while he and his other son do confront Atsu, his army apparently descends on the castle, completely undetected, and even though they are still at the castle is left undefended, even though they're all at the castle awaiting the dragon and Saito's arrival. Like, the whole story to this game is completely fucking nonsensical, man.
Griffin, they make it blatantly clear for you that they are preparing for a siege on the beach, which is where they are hanging Saito's son, and which is where Saito's forces are most likely to be coming from. With this plan in play, they position their limited number of forces to defend that position, leaving the front of the castle open to be attacked at the right moment. Obviously, if most of the samurai are focused on one position, and the other part of Saito's forces, which were likely off in the distance waiting for the signal before moving in, would be able to get a good jump on the samurai castle. Like, the only thing that's nonsense is the bullshit that you've been spewing this whole video.
So Saito's forces storm the castle, destroying the Matsumai castle, and you are left with a choice. And this is where the whole revenge bad storyline is really driven home, dude, in case you couldn't figure it out by now. But what happens at this point in the story is the dragon and Saito confront Atsu at the execution site for the Spider, and she is given a choice, man. And at this moment, she has the option to either confront the dragon and fight him, or flee with her brother Hyubei and Oyuki to go and rescue her niece from the castle in order to escape to live another day. Now, Atsu, really to drive home that revenge bad plot line, decides to stay and fight the dragon because she's clouded by her quest for vengeance. And in doing so, she loses track of where Hyubei and Oyuki went. So she eventually defeats the dragon, escapes from the castle, goes to a previous point where they decided in case of emergency we'll all meet here. And while the only person waiting for her there is her niece Kiku, Jubei and Oyuki never made it, suggesting that they had been captured by Saito and are now being held prisoner. So from here, Atsu goes on her quest in order to find out where Hyubei and Oyuki are being held captive, but first, she does take Kiku to her old home in order to be safe, quote unquote, which, if you can't see the foreshadowing a mile away, then I don't know what to tell you. You have zero media literacy whatsoever.
So let me get this straight. You just explained the story in the most basic way possible at every turn to try and make it sound bad and generic, and have made numerous dogshit criticisms about it, and have lied and misrepresented it multiple times, and you, of all people, have the audacity to say other people have no media literacy. Then, as a cherry on top to try and make yourself sound smarter, you pretended to predict that Saito would put aside his war on the island to go to Atsu's home and kill her. What a specimen you are. What a...
But yeah, the foreshadowing is on the next level. She takes Kiku to Hyubei in her old home, which she explains the events that happened there. And while she leaves her there in order for her to be safe, while she goes out on the hunt for the Spider in order to track down where Hyubei and Oyuki are being held by Lord Saito. Now, she goes and tracks down the Spider, and they have like a little clash, but long story short, it comes down to a talk no jutsu moment where she eventually convinces the Spider to turn on his father because he has daddy issues, he gives her access to Saito's castle in order for her to go and rescue Hyubei and Oyuki, and in exchange, she will spare the spider's life, and she forgives him, essentially.
Wow, another lie and baseline reading of the story. Who would have guessed? Atsu doesn't forgive the spider. She lets go of her need to kill him and spares him so that she can save the family that she still has alive. That doesn't mean she forgives him for what he did.
So she goes to Saito's palace, and she does rescue Oyuki and Hyubei, which apparently this entire time was just a trap. And in the meantime, Saito was headed to your original home where the game began, man. The place that started it all, baby. Apparently, Saito decided to ride out there single-handedly, no guards, nobody, just him by himself and a horse, because it totally makes sense for the de facto leader of the region to ride out unaccompanied in a war-torn area to go and settle your beef with a random woman. Like, again, the writing in this game is absolutely comically bad.
And you're comically brain dead. Ah, yes, it's comically bad because Saito, someone already set up to be egotistical and also just as skilled as Atsu, who in a mission previously took out 30 plus men and captured the spider. It's bad writing to have someone as skilled and even more egotistical than that person to have the hubris to ride out on his own to her house to kill her. Like, do you even hear yourself? Also, another lie about the story, Oyuki and Jubei were never used as a trap for Atsu. Saito literally says he doesn't even know where she is. And Jubei is about to be executed just like any other samurai. There was no trap. If there was a trap, why would it make sense for Saito to leave his fortress?
So from here on out, you have to escape from Saito's palace in an epic escape sequence, which leads to you eventually arriving at your original home, which you find Saito sitting down with Kiku playing the coin-flicking minigame that you've had to go through many times at this point in the game, completely unguarded by himself. Now, keep in mind, Atsu has a fucking gun. In fact, she has 2 guns at this point in the story. She could easily just pull out her gun, shoot Saito in the fucking head while he's sitting down unarmed with Kiku, but instead, no, dude, we gotta have Ma'anaru, and they decide to fight one-on-one, which actually isn't one-on-one, which we'll get to.
Ah, yes, let's just have Atsu try and shoot the guy who can dodge and deflect bullets while Kiku is right next to him. And yes, before someone tries to say something, yes, he is just as fast as Atsu, who can also canonically dodge and deflect bullets, power scaling and things of that nature. Even though these games do try to stay reasonably grounded, they still require unrealistic elements to function as stories, otherwise Jin and Atsu would not be able to do the things they do. Besides the point, even when, Lord Saito lets Kiko run away, Atsu still wants to talk to him before the fight starts, because of her obvious personal feelings that she has. Hence another reason she doesn't just whip out her gun and shoot Saito. Mind you, she literally has 2 musket-type weapons, which aren't exactly quick in combat, especially in close quarters, and again, Saito can dodge and deflect them. And before someone says, oh, well, actually, the pistol is actually pretty quick in combat. Yeah, that's gameplay stuff. No musket-type weapon in real life in that time period was actually like that.
But during your showdown with Saito, there is a scripted sequence where he disarms Atsu, and as a result, Atsu is basically on death's door. She's about to die, which prompts Hyubei to charge in to defend you. And as a result, Saito skewers him with a sword in the chest, killing him, and you then pick up your sword and finish the fight, man, by pinning him to the same tree he pinned you, driving your sword through his heart, completing the cycle of revenge once and for all until only one person is left standing. But because of the death of Hyubei, Atsu and Oyuki decide that it's time to put up their swords, and they settle on raising Kiku themselves to honor the memory of Hyubei. And that is exactly where the game ends. It literally ends with Atsu and Oyuki essentially becoming a lesbian couple and raising another man's child. Where have we seen something very fucking similar to that before in a modern Sony game? I'll give you a hint. It ends with a 2.
Griffin, that's not even how The Last of Us 2 ends. And I've already explained the very blatant differences between those 2 stories. And also, there's not even a hint of romance between Oyuki and Atsu. You're just blatantly lying.
But that is the end of the story, man. It's incredibly uneventful. It makes no fucking sense.
It makes complete sense and has plenty of eventful things happen throughout the campaign and side content. You're just a lying, media illiterate lobotomy victim.
They never explain how the Saito clan is driven out of the region, because Saito literally just died himself. I would assume he has plenty of generals and military leaders that could easily pick up the mantle and maintain control of the region. But again, we're basically just written off that plot point in a singular line of dialogue where Kiku mentions that they're rebuilding Matsumai Castle. But that is the end of the story. It's essentially revenge bad. When you set out on a quest for revenge, dig 2 graves. All of which has been said before in better stories, man. So this just genuinely was painfully mediocre.
So you think that Saito just has people just as good as him, just as smart as him, just as skilled as him that can easily replace him? Yeah, okay, where is that in the story? Oh, right, it's non-existent because anyone else even like that in the story was killed by Atsu. Guys, World War II makes no sense. How did the Nazis fall after Hitler died and their troops became outnumbered? Boy, it's really a big mystery how that could have happened. And you once again have zero media literacy because the story isn't even about digging 2 graves with revenge. And that's not even Atsu's ending. Like, holy shit, the story is about fighting for the family and things that you have in the present instead of letting the past throw that all away. And you say it's been done before and done better. Yeah, okay, show me one story that has the same type of antagonist, the same world building, the same side characters and stories, like plot lines, and the same main character arc. Name me one story that does all of those things the same way and does that better. Oh wait, you can't do that because it doesn't fucking exist. And all you can do is compare the broad strokes of a similar theme or concept.
All of the major story points were very predictable from start to finish. You already had an idea of where the story was going from the very beginning. And the overall pacing and progression is just slogged down by this comfy cringe mission structure in between the action. When you're finally towards the end of the game and the action is starting to pick up, because this game is a very, very slow burn at the beginning, but when you finally start getting into the more action-based sequences of the main story, they keep dropping these obnoxiously long, comfy cringe missions that involve you going camping with your niece, collecting resources, cooking, and all this random shit where it's like, bro, I just mowed down 100+ samurai. Can I go back to doing that shit now? And the answer is no, dude, because you gotta go light a campfire instead. But that is a very common occurrence in a lot of these type of games where they just unnecessarily pad out the runtime with obnoxious chore simulators. Like, that is not what I fucking want. And
quite literally nothing you just mentioned actually explains how the story is poorly paced, and you're also just being broad and not specific about the things that you're talking about. There's barely any walkie-talkie sections in the game compared to the gameplay sections, whether that be through combat, exploration, stealth, etc. And again, let's not forget about the mountain of side content filled with mostly gameplay. And I don't understand why you keep playing these games that you know are story focused and are surprised when not every mission is heavy on gameplay. But mind you, most of these games that he's even talking about, PlayStation games, despite how often people like to misrepresent them, they have way more gameplay than they do walkie-talkie or cutscenes. Cutscenes that you can skip most of the time, mind you.
on top of that, you have the typical 80-20 Sony story game structure where 80% of the gameplay of the main story is just walk to objective, talk to NPC, watch cutscene, walk to the next objective, listen to dialogue, light parkour mechanics, and then you finally get to engage in combat, rinse and repeat. And this game definitely follows that formula to the fucking letter. And I don't—
Yeah, if you've taken a shot every time he's lied in this video, you're either dead or, you know, in immense debt from medical bills. Griffin, you follow the same fucking grifter slop formula that every other dumbass on YouTube follows. Anyways, the rest of this video is no joke him repeating the same stuff he's already said multiple times in the video. So there's no point in continuing this response. I've responded to everything I already need to. I've already made my point clear about how he just blatantly lies about the game. And if I was even being charitable and saying he wasn't lying and just misunderstanding something, the point that he's an absolute ape-brained moron still stands. I know there's gonna be people in the comment section who are exactly the same. And to them, yeah, I don't even know why I'm talking to them. They haven't made it this far in the video. But if you are here, thank you for the engagement. But to the people with at least an average level of brain power, hopefully you can see just how fucking awful these types of creators are. Because again, Griffin is not the only one like this. But with that said, I thank you all for watching, and yeah.